Good morning. How's it going? Hey, listen, I just want to remind you that I've actually filed a formal challenge to what at the time was identified as SB 89 regarding the anti boycott, divest, and sanctions legislation that was passed by the state of Texas in 2017 and that went into effect and was put into law, including in connection with information regarding sanctions to the nations of Sudan as well as Iran. And in the course of filing that challenge at the beginning of 2018, I contended that those laws were unconstitutional for a number of reasons. And I still contend that they're unconstitutional for a number of reasons. As I affirmed in 2017, prior to the legal implementation of those laws, I do not personally support the current boycott, divest, and sanctions movement as it is identified in the United States when it comes to Israel. There are a number of reasons for that, but that does not change the fact that despite the fact that I do not support them politically, I understand that legislation, at least and specifically in the state of Texas, is unconstitutional and actually does not have constitutional authority and hasn't this whole time. Not only that, but concurrent legislation in the state of Texas that presents what I contend is actually a example of efforts to engage in a form of race baiting and ethnic-based discriminatory processes when it comes to dealing with people from other nations are further evidence of the unconstitutionality of those anti-BDS laws and imply a bad faith effort to engage them from the onset, including through the legislative process for implementation, and the manners in which they're applied have proven that very fact. So at this time, I have no support for the anti-BDS legislation in the state of Texas and believe and understand that it's unconstitutional. I'm on the record as having said this and am still in the course of appealing numerous legal challenges that I have presented in the course of the last 4 years. But additionally, there's another matter that needs to be taken into consideration around these factors right now, which is the executive order that was issued by former President Donald Trump that is set to have a very specific term come to bear at the end of November of this year regarding divestment from China, especially in regards to what is alleged to be technology associated with the Chinese military or programs associated with the military apparatus for the People's Republic of China. That executive order has been in effect for several years. Thus far as I know, there's been no legal challenge presented to that specific executive order, and I contend it's because Donald Trump specifically implemented that executive order in order to respond to factors associated with an executive order passed by Barack Obama during his lame duck session on his way out of the office of the presidency that has a comparable expiration when it comes to terms associated with the end of November. This is very important because the consideration of what it means to identify a divestment from Chinese technology or investments in the Chinese military, including technology investments, without some further explication of what that entails, without actual disclosure of various kinds of investments, including ones alleging that they had anything to do with national security, and or investments alleging they had anything to do with national security up to the level of the military that may have intersected with or been intersected through the alleged healthcare sector, make it very difficult, especially insofar as states like Texas also have concurrent legislation concerning anti-BDS laws that are unconstitutional. Now, I'm also on the record, although not formally through the legal process or the judicial branch of government, of saying that the MOU that the United States has, or rather that the state of California has with the nation of Israel regarding technology sharing, specifically when it comes to biomedical and or other kinds of biological technology agreements, is also unconstitutional. It should not have been allowed to be put into effect and should not be allowed to be maintained into this time. All of those factors are connected to each other. All of them reveal highly conspiratorial, unconstitutional activity, and all of them also reveal that they've been used as political leverage by different political actors to the point where neither side or any of the sides involved are willing to actually disclose how they create material risk factors and material security issues for the people of the United States and other people around the world. For that reason, I cannot divest. It is not appropriate for you to discuss with me or try to imply that somehow I have to divest something of the work I've actually done, up to and including my efforts to file with the court in order for me to then be able to be deemed compliant for the purposes of moving forward in any other manner up to and including filings with the court. It is unconstitutional under the current context for me to divest. The implication is that I would be investing from some sort of joint project performed in relation to me and my identity between the state of California and Israel and or the state of Texas and Israel. Unfortunately, because of the allowance for anti-BDS laws to be passed, it would have been illegal for me to divest, and you know that. Any effort to try to compel me to divest, I understand to be another act of attempted extortion that is meant to try to entrap me into an appearance of doing something that can then be assessed a penalty, which, by the way, itself is unconstitutional. So let's please just get that straight today. Thank you very much. Have a good day.